Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope that you had a chance to go and watch my YouTube video that I did on Thursday, my first episode of the mini series. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing it, but it's just another fun way to get little books out that I maybe won't do like a full episode on, but I still want to talk to y'all about it. So definitely go and look on the YouTube channel. Just find me in a book podcast. That's what the channel's called. I'm not going to be posting it as a podcast episode. It's strictly going to be on YouTube. So yeah, I did my first one, and then I'll have another one on Thursday that y'all can watch. And then we have today's episode, and I could not decide whether I wanted to do this book or whether I wanted to do Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Because I know I mentioned it last week, and it still is like gaining even more and more like traction on like Amazon and TikTok and everything like that. So it was really hard not to, but I'm waiting until next week because I think my sister might be reading it this week. And so I want like her take on it. And I also want to like take my time doing the notes because I did love that book so much. And so I want to make sure to do it justice, I guess. So now I have pressure on myself to make sure that it's great. I hope every episode is great. There's some that I'm like, ooh, okay. And then some I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I did it. So honestly, you never know what you're going to get every single episode. And that's kind of exciting. And yeah, so today's book is The UnHoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is one of the books that I picked up at Bookman's. It's like a used bookstore. I've never gone to a used bookstore, I don't think. I've gone to like thrift stores that have books, but not like strictly. I mean, they have like games and they have CDs and like that media there at like Bookman's, but they had so many romance books. And I think I told you about it a couple of episodes actually, because I'm pretty sure I told you the books that I got. So this was one of them, is The UnHoneymooners, and I'm a fan. Like, I really liked Christina Lauren. That's the author. I really like her writing. She's funny. Like, this book was funny. Like, I have maybe read like 10 books. Yeah, like I haven't read a lot of really funny books, like rom-coms. Like some of them are like, oh, that's cute, like, huh, like little chocolate. But like, I want to say the last one that I did laugh out loud was Apprentice to the Villain, by Hannah Mayer, something Mayer. That was the last one that I laughed out loud. And then this one I laughed out loud. And also this one has an oh shit moment. Like, oh shit, like that is so crazy. Like that type of moment. And I guess you could call it the twist at the end. And I will tell you it, but I'll warn you. I'll say like, okay, from now on, like from this point on, it'll be all spoilers. So if you haven't read this book or don't want to read this book or don't have time to read this book, then just stay the whole episode, and then I'll tell you what happens in the book. But for the time being, I am happy to say that this is mother sister approved, both of them. I know we haven't had one of those and since the 7 year slip. And my mom did really like that one. And I want to say that she would really like Apprentice to the Villain. She would like that one. And she would like Quicksilver. I think we're going to make her read Quicksilver. And then, yeah, this one I am going to be taking to Idaho with me this weekend. And I'm going to make my mom and sister read it because it was so cute. It's so funny. It's just so well done. And the spice was like a 2 out of 5. Like it had some spicy scenes, but they were very tame. And it was kind of a closed, it was a fade to black. Like the beginnings of it and like kind of getting into it was in there, but it wasn't like a very crude, very descriptive. It wasn't. And so it was very classy. And so I would not be offended or mortified if my mom read this book. So take that as you will. Speaking of spice, I want to update you that me and Kat did finish pucking around. Wait, I take that back. Kat finished pucking around. I gave up. Let me explain. So I started listening to it. There was like the little novella at the beginning. So I listened to most of that, and already I was like, I wasn't ready for this level of spice. Like, I was not ready. Like, I will emphasize, I am looking into the camera. I was not ready. And neither was Kat. I was like, okay, I am not going to be able to listen to this really. Except for I skipped the novella. Once I got through like the first chapter of the novella, I was like, I don't want to listen to this like part. So I started the book. And then Kat got really ahead of me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to start reading because I read faster than I listen. And so I started reading, and I knew immediately that it was going to push my boundaries for the spice that I read. And it did. It went so far past my boundaries to like Kat, even past her boundaries, that she was like, I don't know about this. And her boundaries are way farther than mine are. It pushed both of our boundaries. I thought Den of Vipers pushed my boundaries with like the sex scenes and like the spiciness. Okay, I can't say no because they're kind of like different situations. So pucking around, there are 3 guys involved. I thought that there was only 2, but there are 3 guys involved. Yeah, the main character is with all of them, and even 2 of the guys are together. Like, they start to fall in love. And so it was a very, very different dynamic than what I've ever read. It was, and I'm going to be kind of, not TMI, but I'm going to be real frank with you. Very descriptive, kind of. At one point, there was a penis and a vagina, and then another penis with 3 piercings entered the vagina as well. At that point, I was like, I think I'm tapping out. I think I'm tapping out. And it's not like, it was too much for me. It was too much detail. Like, too much detail that I was like, I don't want to know this. I don't want to know this. And I'm so flustered, and I'm so blushing. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I was mind blown. I was speechless. And then I kept going past that scene, and then I think I got it 3/4 of the way, and that's when I tapped out. The main reason is because I hated, and I don't use hate very often, and sometimes I take the word hate back, but I'm not going to take it back for this. I hated the main female character. I hated her. Hated her. Couldn't relate, couldn't stand her. I just couldn't. I was not on her side. Like, those guys deserved better. And especially one of them that I was like, don't bring him in. Don't bring him in. He deserves like his own special relationship. Like, I know that in these books they say, oh, there's love to spread around. There's enough love for everyone. That's great. But I feel like he deserved better. It all came down to the female character. I just didn't like her, and I couldn't go anymore. And it just, with the combination and accumulation of just everything, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I was like, Kat, you gotta finish for me. I can't. So she did. Supposedly it ended up fine. And then she started the second book. So I didn't want to read the second book, didn't want to listen to the second book. So I was like, you go for it. Like, that's fine. Our next listen is Neon Gods by Katie Roberts, and Kat is starting tonight, and I told her that's when I'd start too, but I needed something to listen to at work today, so I am halfway through. Hopefully she doesn't see this, like, it'll be fine. She won't see this. But yeah, I'm already halfway through, and I'm going to pause. It's okay. It's good. Like, I like the characters. I like everything. It's interesting, because the spice in this book, apparently, Hades really likes to be, is exhibitionist. Is that the right word? Where they like to like be outside, or like be seen outdoors, or like have sex outdoors, or like in public. That's what it is. They like to have sex in public. Because I think it hasn't gotten there yet. It's gotten pretty spicy, but it hasn't gotten to where they have done that in public. But apparently that's what or not Satan, Hades likes. So we're getting there. I don't know. I've heard that these books are spicy. I know that Katie Roberts does do pretty spicy books. But I want to say that she's a very inclusive author as well. Like, for all genders, all races, just everything. That's what I feel like I've seen her like commenting around on like threads, like Instagram threads. And I want to say like she's a great, I mean, I like her writing. I like her characters. I like everything. And so I'm excited to keep going and hopefully read some more of hers. So yeah, that's where we are right now. Let's start back into, because we kind of talked about it, the UnHoneymooners by Christine Lauren. And talked about Mother Sister Standard, talked about Spice. This is a romantic comedy, fake marriage, enemies to lovers. They don't actually get married. Yeah, they don't actually get married. They just say that they're married, which it'll come into play. The characters, so great. Every single character I loved. They just were fun, and they had their own spunk, and none of them like got annoying. Like, if there was never too much of a character. Like, never was I like, wow, we're really sticking on this one. It's a single point of view, so it's not dual. So I love those, of course. The storyline, relatable, funny. Like, I could see it definitely happening in real life. It had great pacing. There was a twist at the end, which we kind of talked about. And each of these characters make you root for them. And just like the couple, you just root for them. And I just loved it. I loved their personalities, just loved everything about it. Olive is our main female character. She is a twin, an identical twin to Amy. So Amy is the one that is going to be getting married. And she is the queen of contests. Like, anything, any raffle she puts her name in, any contest, any sweepstakes, like, she wins it. And so everyone says like, oh, she's so lucky. She's so lucky. So when Dane proposed, she was like, bet, like, I'm going to get everything. I'm going to win everything for this wedding. Like, I'm going to have this posh wedding and everything's going to be free because I won it. And she pretty much does it, which is crazy. Olive thinks that she's unlucky because she doesn't win these things like Amy does. And she just kind of has a more glass half empty look about her when Amy has the opposite. And so a lot of things happened to her. When we opened the book, she had just gotten like laid off her job. She had to move apartments, like just kind of like down on her luck, and things aren't going her way. And so the first day opens up that we're at Amy's wedding. And so Amy is like, don't touch my dress. Don't really touch anything. Everything's fine. Go to Ethan. So Amy's fiance, Dane. Dane's older brother, Ethan. Olive and Ethan don't get along. There was a situation a couple years ago when they first met at the fair that Olive made assumptions and judgments that Ethan was judging her. And so from there, she hasn't given him the day of time. She's just kind of been rude. And Dane has told Ethan that she's rude. And just like, they both didn't give each other a chance. So they've just kind of had this like hate relationship, or like just very short with each other, and just annoyed, irritated, kind of sibling relationship. Just that's how it's been. And so at the wedding, Amy loves checklists. Who doesn't love a good checklist? I love a good checklist. Amy loves them. And so she gives lists to everyone. And one thing on Olive's list is to check with Ethan on his best man speech. And so she begrudgingly goes and talks to Ethan, and he makes sure to remind her that he doesn't eat from buffets. And she's like, okay, yes, I know. Like, I got you a separate like food plate because I need it as well. Because she's allergic to shellfish. And Amy had won a big like seafood platter for catering for the wedding. So they both had like their different plates. So she got all that taken care of. The wedding went great. And then it gets to the reception. Everything's going good. Ethan gets up and makes his toast. Everything's fine. And then Olive gets up to make her toast and her speech. And she's like maybe a couple sentences in, and Dane just pukes. He just throws up. He just spews. And then that's kind of a chain reaction to others starting to spew and people running to the bathrooms. And everyone so sick. Everyone, because of the seafood platter, because of this like bacteria or whatever, except for Ethan and Olive, because they didn't eat that food. Isn't that amazing? Like, I mean, it really, really sucks. Like, imagine if that happened at your wedding. And I'm so sorry if it did happen at your wedding. Like, it's unimaginable. Like, absolutely insane, but so funny. It was such a funny scene. Just like imagining it, it was so gross. And so the next day, I want to say, or even that night, Amy is like, Olive, you have to take my spot on this honeymoon. Like you got laid off, like go have this vacation. It's non-refundable. Like, please just take my ticket, take my ID. Like, we're identical twins. Like, please just do this. And so she's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And she goes to talk to Dane about his ticket. And that's when she finds out that Ethan is taking his ticket. And so they're both like, well, let's just do this. We don't have to be around each other. Like, we just have to share a room, but we don't have to spend time together. And so that's what they decide. So while they're at the airport waiting for their plane, Olive gets a call that she received a job, like this job offer. And it's so exciting, so fun. And Ethan doesn't really like show any really reaction. Like, they still are very standoffish and bickering and arguing just about everything. You know how it is. So they make it over to Hawaii. That's where the resort is. And they check in and they have dibs on like the room. And I think they go down to dinner and have dinner. And that's when they see, who was it first? I think it was Olive's CEO, like the president of her company that she just got hired from. Him and his wife are there for their 30th anniversary. And he's like, Olive? And she's like, hey, this is my husband. We just got married, because she said that she couldn't start the job. She had a sick relative. And I don't think he knew that, but I think their HR person knew that. And so she had to come up with something, and she does not lie at all. Like, she cannot lie. Like, very good. And that's one thing that I was frustrated in this book, because when she tried to tell a lie, it just like completely went off, and she would create this story and it would just get so insane that you're like, oh my gosh, please just stop talking. So she's that kind of liar. So there was a couple moments that I was like, oh my gosh. So she blurts out that her and Ethan are married. At one point they had already said, oh, it was at the front desk they had to say that they were married. So they're like, okay, this is fine. And so immediately they go with it that she's married, that they're married. And so they're like, oh, okay, like, let's just keep going with this. Either that same night or the next day, Ethan freaks out because he's like, my ex-girlfriend and her fiance are here as well. I guess it had been 6 months since they had broken up. He was going to propose, but then she just like left. Like, he went to work, I think, and she just like packed up everything and left and said she couldn't do it. So it's kind of like heartbreaking for him, because it's like, it's only been 6 months and you're already engaged. And so him and Olive again have to act married and be kind of lovey, and it's so awkward. And just like their awkwardness together is so funny, trying to convince everyone around them that they're married. And so they start to do all these different activities, and because it's included, and so they're like, well, we might as well do this. And yeah, they just have a ton of fun. There's one night, I think maybe Ethan was feeling like sorry for himself, or something happened, I think, with the ex-girlfriend, that he's like, I just want to get drunk. Can I just get drunk? And she's like, yeah, go for it. Like, I'll drive. And so he gets drunk and they get back to the room, which is so funny, by the way, with him getting drunk and the situation's so funny. They get back to the room and he kisses her, and he like admits that he has always liked her, that it was Dane that said like, oh, don't go for her, she's so angry, she's so negative, and just kind of like pushed him off, so that Dane could be with Amy. So nothing ever like happened, and she's like, well, I liked you too. And so they had kissed, and then the next day they kind of confront it, and they are very honest with each other. And they're like, yeah, I think we should do this. Like, I think we should try this. And so they have their spicy scenes, which are fun. I mean, not fun, but they're not descriptive, and they're cute. And so they decide to start this relationship. They're having a good time. I do want to say before I keep going that the rest will be spoilers. So right now, if you're like, oh, I really want to read this book, click off and give me a thumbs up and subscribe and follow and do all that, all on social media, YouTube, everywhere. I'm so appreciative of your listen. But if you're good with spoilers, let's keep going. I want to say, I don't remember how it's brought up. Oh, it's because Olive was talking about how Ethan would go on all these trips with Dane, and Ethan would always want Dane to go on the stuff. And so Dane had missed like Amy's birthday and their anniversary, just like blaming it on Ethan. And Ethan was like, no, none of this was me. Like, it was all Dane. Like, he was the one doing all this. And then he like mentioned a couple girls' names, like that had been a couple years previous. And she was like, no, like he was dating Amy exclusively like 3 years ago. And Ethan was like, well, like Trinity or a couple other girls, like they were like 2 years ago. And then right before he proposed, and like him and Amy were exclusive the whole time. So there's like a twist there. So Ethan tells Olive not to tell Amy. He's like, let's just keep it in the past. Like, maybe there was some miscommunication. Like, let's just have them, like, figure it out. Like, this doesn't involve us. And so Olive really doesn't like that because her and Amy are twins. Like, they're so close. So she finally admits, like, okay, I won't tell her. It's fine. And so they go about their day, like, the rest of their vacation. They're there for 10 days. That's so long. They have a great time. They get back. They go through the airport, and they kiss, like, while they get their luggage. And then they turn around, and Dane and Amy are right there. So they immediately have to admit, like, yeah, we are together. It's cute, and they feel weird about it. Like, Amy and Dane kind of feel weird about it, but they're like, okay, well, Ethan did like her from the very beginning, so it's okay. Oh, it was Olive's first day of work. Like, they had gotten back, she's starting her new job. Her first day, she was like, I need to be honest with this CEO because it's like a company of like trust, and she had to sign this like confirmation thing and like their values, just saying that she'll be honest. And so she's like, I have to go talk to him. So she does, and she's like, she tells him like, hey, we weren't married, like this was the situation. And then he fires her. And he's like, after, like, you sign this, like, I don't think I can trust you, which is understandable, but still, it's like, really? Like, you're gonna let her go from this? Like, I don't think that's right. Like, she goes home, she tells Ethan, her and Ethan see each other, like, every day. So cute. He's like, hey, let's go to dinner with Dane and Amy tonight. And so they do. And Dane is only there. And so she's like, where's Amy? And he's like, oh, well, she's coming. And then she's like an hour late. She still doesn't show up. And everyone's like, oh, this is kind of weird. So Ethan goes to the bathroom, and then Dane hits on Olive. He hits on her. He flirts with her. He says, hey, like, if you ever want to switch partners, like, you and Amy look the same, I'd be down. Like, what skis, you know? And so she's like so upset. She's like, I need to go. So Ethan catches up with her, and she tells him what Dane did, and he doesn't believe her. He's like, no, I don't think you would do that. Like, you heard wrong. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, you're being negative. Like you got fired today, and just like gaslighting her. And she's like, okay, then we're not going to continue. Like, no, I'm mad. I don't know if it's that night or like right after. Amy does come over and they're talking and everything. And I want to say that they get mad at each other, or Olive is like, no, I just got to be straight up with her. And she tells Amy everything that Ethan told her about Dane and then what happened at the restaurant with Dane like hitting on her. And Amy, of course, is so angry at Olive, gaslighting her again, blaming her, saying she's so negative, you're so jealous, like, this is all on you. And the last thing Olive says is, like, check his phone. Like, check his phone. Like, just be aware. Like, I just want you to be aware. And so they're not talking, they're fighting. And so Olive is just being, she's like down. Like, a lot of things have happened to her. It's totally understandable. And then this is the part, like, I love the last half of the book because you really see such a growth in Olive, where when she was on the honeymoon with Ethan, like, she was being very positive, she was changing her mindset. And even when she got home too, and when all this negative stuff happened, like, she was honestly trying to be positive and to change it and to really like look like on the brighter side. And so she like really did a lot of like self-development, like growth, and I just loved that for her. Randomly, Amy texts her and she says, I looked at his phone. Yeah, she found things. And she's like, hey, can you come over? And so Olive goes over. Amy's like, just wait, I'll tell you. And the three girls show up. Amy invited all three of the girls that he had these relationships with and were sleeping with during their marriage and relationship. She invited them there with Dane there. He had no idea. That was my oh shit moment where I was like, that is baller moves. That is baller moves. And I was here for it. Oh, I was like, yes. Crazy. And then at the end, Ethan shows up and he could see everything. And so, of course, he feels bad because he didn't believe her. And so it takes some time, but Olive, like, starts talking to Ethan again. And they, of course, end up together. And it's so cute. I did not see any of the twists coming. I'm glad that there were twists. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't just like we broke up and like he did this or he did this. And it kind of was, but there was more of an outside storyline too. Like with her sister and brother, like that whole, I loved it. Like, I didn't expect it at all. It was perfect. It was perfect. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this book. Recommend it to my mom and sister. Recommend it to your mom and your sister. I loved it. So good. Will definitely pick up more of Christine's books. Definitely. So I hope you liked the story. I hope you liked the UnHoneymooners. I think I'm kind of late to reading it. I want to say that it really had its time to shine at the beginning of the year, but I could be completely wrong. It could still be going around, and I hope it is because it's very good. And yeah, just look for it wherever you are and pick it up because it's great. So anyways, thanks for sticking to the very end. And I hope you like and follow me everywhere. And I will talk to you next week.